wasn't ready.
Play this record as frequently as possible.
Welcome
Welcome.
to Bandito headquarters.
All right, so on the 2002, we're gonna run a manual air management system just because I don't want a brand new controller. Also, it's way cheaper. And also, yeah, that's the only two reasons really. Yeah, and like a new style controller would look really shitty inside that brand, like the old style interior and everything. But so we're running just a 444C compressor. It's about as powerful as a 400, but it's quieter than the 400s, which is nice. And then I have these little one-way valves. Basically, if you power and ground these, it'll open this valve and let air go through it. That's it. So you have two on each system. One lets the air into the tank, into the bag from the tank, and then one will let it out. So it'll be my front's connected with the T and my rear's connected with the T. And this one's a drain. You have to have a drain at the bottom of your tank for condensation. When it's cold outside and you run air through a hot compressor, it'll condensate in your tank, you'll get a little water. You don't want to shoot water into your bag, so. There you go, and that's pretty much it. Super simple. Got to run a pressure switch to a relay that controls the power that's to the compressor. So the pressure switch at 145 PSI is off, and as soon as it gets lower than 145, it turns back on. So if the tank gets lower than 145, which once you start using these it will, it'll run your compressor back up to pump it back up. So it's ready whenever you need to use it. And that's it.
Cool.
It's pretty simple. So I'm using just soft line airlines. This is a 1/4 inch. And all of my fittings that I'm using are push to connect, which is awesome because you can basically just take your airline, cut it straight, and then press it in, and it locks itself. If you ever want to release it, you just pull this little tab in, pull it out. Super easy. So if you ever want to check any lines or disconnect something for a second, super easy. All right, so air will run from this. Well, it'll come into the compressor, fill the tank up, run out this line to here. This will go to the rears, that guy will go off to the front. And so this is the first valve it hits, and that's the valve that'll let air in. So let air in to this right here, and that'll run out to the rear bags and inflate them. Now this end right here is gonna run to another one of these and let air out for when you're deflating it. So powering this one will let air into the rear bag. Powering this one will let air out of the rear bag. And then the same thing for the fronts.
Make sure you label your stuff.
Makes it easier to remember what you're doing. So that's rear in, front in, and I'll have front out and rear out. And then the drain.
Got all the air valves mounted in. Day one.
Night one. It's only been a couple of hours, but just working after hours. It's all good.
We'll be back.
Yep.
We have a guest appearance. Welcome.
It's a little dirty. It's sunny down these parts, huh? Yeah. It's snowing up.
What up, man?
What up, dog?
Over here, you got more room.
Oh, that's
Yeah. May not clear that, but they'll have money for you. Test fitting these guys to make sure that they clear his brakes. M4 brakes are massive. They didn't even look that big before, and then as soon as
It's like
this is barely clearing with like a 10 mil worth of spacers.
shaboom. Damn, that should look good.
Should I air it out a little bit? Yeah. Sit around.
Meanwhile, Greg inspects.
And are you gonna run? You gonna run a 15?
Rocket. What kind of fitness? No, great. What kind of fitness should I run?
Yeah, and are you gonna run a 15 mil spacer or the 10?
How spaced is it right now?
If you run the 15, then you'd be like.
I'd probably run a 10. If those
That's like
washers
9
are
right
like-
there.
Okay,
So.
I'll just do 10 probably.
That's like, she's close.
But
It's all good.
but then that way you get the most lip out of it too.
Yeah.
But not like 5 mil is gonna make that much difference.
Over how fun these little legs are.
Like an iPad.
Yes! It's the small one. It's not made for the cameras.
That camera's way too.
Dude, this Joby is made for full-size DSLRs.
She's been used too much. Her joints are blowing out now.
Hold on, I just got to find.
I just
gotta find the right center, you know.
center balance. All right, there we go. Oof! Look at that.
Yeah, just don't move anything around it.
Don't breathe on it. Might fall over.
Getting that rear wheel fitment test. You know it's real when you have the little blocks out. So you want to give them a little insight?
So we're just measuring, making sure that the faces clear his brakes, which the brakes are deceptively massive. So
Oh, damn! I just realized you got rear calipers too.
what?
Of
course he's rear calipers,
You know what
bro.
I mean? Big rear calipers. Yeah, big rear calipers.
Yeah. The M Sport, they have rear calipers that are.
Sorry guys.
Hot.
Please don't shoot me because I said something wrong again.
So every time he says something wrong, you know what he's saying.
Greg is having some trouble in the back.
Let's go see what Greg's doing over here.
You're live on camera.
Live. Street Bandito Network.
Coming to you live.
Are you guys
So-
big shirts?
Yeah.
They're in the works.
All right.
So basically, we just measured the faces and made sure that they cleared the brakes, which they didn't because his brakes are big. But so now we know what size spacers got to run to have the brakes actually clear the wheel faces, and then also now we.
Never mind.
It's your
Too late. Sorry.
our network.
But also he aired out with the 4-inch lip on there, so now we can compare and see what size lip he needs. What?
What is your question?
What do you have?
Did it not look like the lip coming from the back would hit this?
No.
Did you look at that?
Yeah. Because
I think
actually
the back lip.
the back lip bumps out right away for that exact.
Oh, so it comes out to here right away?
Yeah. It literally goes boop, and then comes out.
So did that answer your question?
Maybe. I say go for it.
So all this questioning just to say go.
Well, if I had a hand and I could get my tire done, I'd get out of your hair.
Do you have an interval of any sort?
Back here, son.
Running the wiring to each one of these air valves so they can hook up to the switches up front. That's like the last bit we have to do back here, actually.
Oh, the manual valves we installed the other night.
Yeah, yep. So I just have 5 wires in here, one for each one of these valves.
Oh, nice. You did that at home, huh?
I did. All braided and shit, and it's got that thread in there. But now I gotta cut it up.
Okay, Mr. Fancy Son. Snap, crackle, pop.
What's up?
Flipping them switches, huh?
Nope. Probing them wires. I do have switches, but I just need to wire them in. Be up and down on the front, up and down on the rear. We got
No, you just think that's OEM.
We got a gauge. It's got 2 different dials, one for the front, one for the rear. They might mount it right here where there's actually a, in the 2002 TIIs, they had a
clock that went here that looks just like this face. So I get the little bezel for the clock, it'll look OEM, and it'll be in the OEM location, and yeah, it'll be dope. We'll see. 100%, but it's got that knob back on.
Let's see what this nice little drawing you got going on here.
Beautifully laid out by myself. So this is basically just the overview of the whole air system.
I'm gonna take you through
The basics of manual valve system, pretty much.
So we begin here.
Start here, yep. Get a relay, 12 volt constant power from your battery, 12 volt switch power, keyed switch power, running your relay. And then you attach the power cable from your compressor. I'm running a 444, which is a fairly large compressor, grounded obviously. And then you get a pressure sensor. The pressure sensor reads, as soon as it gets below 145 PSI, it switches on and grounds this, which then turns the power in the compressor on. So as soon as it gets back over 145 PSI, then it'll turn it off. So that way you always have at least 145 PSI in your tank at all times. Then moving on to this guy right here. This is just an open port I had, but what you can do is you can run a regular airline fitting out of this guy and an air fill valve, like a tire valve. So you can fill it up, if something happens with your compressor, you can fill it up, and then also you can use air, like air tools and stuff like that, so that's always super convenient. So if you got a compressor, you might as well use it. That's the air pressure sensor, obviously, and then this is just the air that goes out to the valves and everything. And then at the very bottom of your tank, always at the bottom of your tank, you have to run a drain, which goes to a valve also. And as soon as you turn the switch on, it'll let the air out of your tank, but that air will push out all the water that is condensated from your hot compressor. Pressing all this hot air, it'll condensate eventually and become a little puddle of water. So maybe once every month, just hit the button and it'll. So again, here's your compressor. Air starts here, sucks into the compressor, fills your tank up. You have that valve I was talking about that drains out all the air and the water that sits in the bottom of the tank. And then we got one line that runs out and gets divided between the rear valve that goes in and the front valve that goes in. So these now are divided. These valves up here all run with the front, and these valves down here all run with the rear. So then you tee off. So this system right here, from the rear bags to this valve, is now its own closed system. This just basically opens a flap, lets air in. So then this air line right here will all be compressed and will raise your two bags, right?
Oh, how neat. Label rear right, rear left.
Yeah. These are the four wheels and stuff. So it'll raise your rear bags. And then you have another valve teed off of that same system, because this is a closed system, that when you open that valve, it lets air out. And that's how you lower your bags. And then same thing up here. This would be the front valve that lets air in, front valve that lets the air out. One thing you definitely want to do though is, so basically I have the left rear and right rear tied together. They're just teed together. You need to put a valve in one side of that. And that valve you're going to connect to both of these powers. So whenever the air goes in or out of that valve opens. What that does is keep air from the left and right side separate. Because if you go around a corner really hard, all of the air, say you're making a left turn, you have more pressure on the right side of your car, so it's going to push all the air to the side that has less pressure on the left side. So your airbag on the right side is going to deflate, and the one on the left side is going to inflate. So but just keeping the one valve in there so they both have the same amount of pressure, but they can't pass between the two valves, solves that problem. So then you do the same thing for the front, and then you're basically done. And then you have to run switches. I'm just running two switches, one rocker switch that goes, it's like a three-way switch, I guess. It's just constant neutral and then up and down. Same thing for the rear. And basically, so you run a 12 volt switch power to it. And then when you click it up, it'll run to the valve here that lets air in. When you click it down, it'll run 12 volt power to the one that lets it out. And that's it. So Clicking up on this one will raise the front. Clicking down on it will lower the front. Same thing with the rear. And then I'm just running a gauge, a single gauge with 2 needles. It's got a white needle that'll be the front and a red needle that'll be the rear. So you can see what PSI your front and rears are at all times. And that just tees off of one of these airlines, the front system or the rear system. And that's it. That's like a super simple, really cheap way to like use a management system. A lot of the really nice, like Airlift makes super, super nice, intricate, super daily drivable management systems, but they're pretty expensive. You pay for it, but it's totally worth it. But for this, it's not a daily driver. I didn't want like a brand new,
You don't need all
high
that,
tech,
fancy stuff.
all that.
So
It's just got 2 little rocker switches in the center console right by the shifter. You can't even tell. It looks pretty OEM.
yeah, and not even just that. You plan? I guess we can do a kit because I know we had a few inquiries about this setup. I guess for other people, and to those people that asked, I mean, we're still in the process of trying to piece together everything for you. So don't think we forgot. We definitely did not forget about you. And yeah, we're gonna try to do a kit. Get on the shop. Shop coming soon. Bandito's gonna take care of it.
We out!